Well, good morning. I'm Dan Royce, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Killer Nashville Mock Crime Scene Competition. Many of you know me since this is going to be, I think, the 10th year that we've set up a mock crime scene at Killer Nashville. But for those of you I haven't already met, a little bit about my background. I recently retired from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation after 35 years as a special agent forensic scientist and eventually assistant director of the Bureau. I worked in the firearms unit for most of my career, and I also headed up what we call a violent crime response team. That's a group of 5 special agent forensic scientists, a firearms examiner, a trace evidence examiner, a latent print examiner, a forensic biology examiner, and a documentation specialist. And what we do is, working as a team, we respond to the scene of the crime and we investigate. We locate and document and collect physical evidence that can tell us what happened and who's responsible. And if you choose to compete, that's what you're going to be doing for the next couple of days. So why would you want to compete in this competition? Well, for fabulous prizes, of course. The winner is going to receive a deeply discounted admission to next year's Killer Nashville, which is always good. And also, you're going to be competing for the coveted TBI Challenge coin, which has no monetary value but is endowed with incalculable bragging rights. The main thing is it's fun, and by competing you may even learn something about the challenges of crime scene investigation that you won't see on TV. So for those of you who want to give it a try, I'm going to explain how it works. We have our scenes set up in room 224 of the hotel. When you get there, you'll be given a handout. It looks just like this one here. It's 3 pages long, and it explains the facts of the case and the rules for competing in the competition. Now, your job will be to perform the initial survey of the crime scene, and based on what you find, to form a hypothesis of what happened, to locate physical evidence within the crime scene, and to determine what testing to assign to that evidence. Only ask that you don't move anything in the crime scene. As a part of this investigation, you're also going to interview first responders, witnesses, and other persons of interest. These will be pre-recorded video interviews to ensure that everybody has the same chance. The handout on the 3rd page has instructions for how to get to the links, how to access these video interviews with your smartphone or your computer. Now, once you've finished, you're going to need an entry form like this one right here. One page is a crime scene diagram, which you'll need to complete, and also fill in what you think happened, who did it, what you would do next in the investigation. Points to include would be what type of weapon, is it suicide, is it homicide, if it's a homicide, is it planned or unplanned homicide, what's the motive if it's a homicide, who are your suspects, things to look for that would lead to some sort of resolution in the case. All right, closer view of the form here. This is the entry form. The other page is sort of like the form that you would use to submit the evidence that you've identified to a crime lab. Now, as in real life, you can have the right evidence, but if you don't assign the right testing to it, it doesn't help you any. A lot of people think that you submit a piece of evidence to the crime lab and the lab automatically just does everything to it. But that's not how it works. There's actually a good bit of judgment involved. Now, when you fill out this form, there are actually 4 areas to deal with. There's this area here, this area here, this area here, and this area here. Now, the first is marked evidence. Look at the top, it says marked evidence. Now, let's say we had a fireplace poker with a reddish-brown stain on it. Now, on Perry Mason, people are always getting killed with fireplace pokers, so we're going to use that as our example. Now, under description, you'd write in fireplace poker. Excuse my handwriting. Location is going to be the grid where you found it. See this area here, location. So you're going to refer back to your diagram. Let's say our fireplace poker was found right here. That's going to be grid E2. So I'm going to fill in E2. Make sense? Now, do you process it at the scene or do you send it to the crime lab for processing? And that's the next thing here. Well, some things are better processed at the lab, but some things can't be sent to the lab. That's going to be for you to decide. If I was looking for latent fingerprints on the poker, I'd submit it to the crime lab and let them look for it. But if I was looking for latent prints on, say, a countertop, I'd dust for them there at the scene. So, under description, you could also write the name of a person, such as our victim, or a first responder, or anybody that you might want testing done. Or you could also write an area on the grid, such as, let's say, B2. An area that you might want processing done, such as vacuuming for hair and fibers, or processing with luminol. The next area is for the processing that you feel is appropriate to be done at the crime scene. Now, if there's an abbreviation that you don't understand, you can either Google it or you can ask me. For instance, on the fireplace poker, I might want presumptive testing on the reddish-brown stain, which is going to be right here, to see if it's actually blood, because that's going to change how I look at it. Now, the area after that is for standards that we're going to take from the scene. Now, if you're going to be asking for a comparison of some kind, then you need standards to compare it with. I'd probably want my victim's fingerprints and palm prints to compare with any prints that might be found on the standards. So, elimination prints. All right, the last area is for examinations that you want performed at the crime lab once the evidence has been submitted. For instance, the reddish-brown stain area on the fireplace poker, I'd probably want a DNA comparison to my victim's DNA profile. So I'm going to mark DNA exam comparison. All right. So for each of these areas, you're going to place an X in the appropriate box indicating the work that you want done. Now, you have a maximum of 50 X's that you can assign, so you got to choose wisely. Now, your score is going to be the number of correctly placed X's in those boxes, as well as the accuracy of the hypothesis. And please do not forget to put your name on the form and to turn it in by 1:30 p.m. on Saturday. So, as they say, the game is afoot. Good luck, and I'll meet you at the crime scene. And remember, that's in room 224. 224. See you there.